So the human mind has this rule as part of it, cause and effect. Let me give you an example. If you walk into, now you have this image of the classroom as it is now. If you leave and come back and notice that the tables are upside down, that this is gone, okay, that the chairs are stacked in the corner, stacked up. What is the first thing that comes to your mind?
So hey, did it.
That something
Somebody was here.
did it.
Yeah.
You know, it's impossible that the chairs and the tables just move by themselves. It could be a hurricane, it could be an earthquake, it could be an animal, it could be a human being, it could be, but there is some cause that has caused this effect. This evidence was used by Imam Abu Hanifa, as they say, Allah Alam, the story is true or not. But at his time, there was somebody who didn't believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he was arguing with Abu Hanifa. So Abu Hanifa told him, why don't you meet me at the other end of, or the other bank of the Tigris River in Baghdad on such and such time or day. The guy went there. Abu Hanifa went late like 1 hour or 2 hours. A man told him, why are you late? You're a respected scholar, and you told me you're going to be here at, Asr time, and it's Maghrib, it's dark, and you told him you wouldn't believe what happened. He told him what happened. He told him, while I was waiting for the little boat that takes people from one bank to another, I've seen a huge tree that was sitting on the side of the bank of the river, fell down, chopped up into exact pieces of wood. Then they started jumping together, and then I don't know, from nowhere, nails started flying and falling in the right places, and then there were two, what do you call them, these things that rows or whatever, that you used to do that. He said, I got in it, and all of a sudden these rows started moving until I reached the other bank here, and that's why I'm late. I was, amazed watching this happening. He told him, are you out of your mind? That's impossible. A tree falling in the water by itself, and then a couple, woods, somebody, if there is a boat, it means somebody has made it. He told him exactly. And that is my answer to you when you ask for the proof for the existence of this universe. If you see this universe and how beautiful it is and how it's functioning, this is an effect. For sure it has a cause. Tell me, what is the cause for it? It has to be something outside it. Because if it is part of it, then it is not the real cause. For it to be a real cause, it has to be outside the universe itself. In other words, you cannot say the wind, brought this universe into being. Why? Because the wind is part of the universe. It's part of the effect. It's not a cause. And things are either cause or effect. They cannot be both at the same time. You understand the first part of the evidence, the first kind? The cause and effect. By the way, if you disagree, say, I disagree. That's fine with me. That's all right. Here we are discussing ideas. If that is not convincing to you, just say it's not convincing.
Abu Ali, as far as the atheists, if you argue with them, you will never reach anywhere because they always have an explanation for anything that you give.
Well, let them explain this.
Yeah, they tell you there is cause and effect. That's what they say. They say there is cause and effect.
Yeah, the cause is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
No, they don't see it Allah. They see just physics. They see
I do not care what they call it.
Yeah.
All I want them to admit is that what you see here is an effect.
Yes.
Okay? If it is an effect, there is a cause for it. And the cause, it's impossible to be part of it, because if it's part of it, then it's an effect. And we are saying there should be a cause, not an effect. There should be a cause in order to have this effect. The whole universe, whatever it has, is an effect. Is there a cause for it? For sure. That's what the human mind says. For sure there is a cause for it. Now we call that cause Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let him say that there is a cause, but it's not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's fine. We agree with him. Good. Okay. But at least he believes that there is a cause that produced this effect.
Yeah. I think actually so far every atheist, every top scientist are stumped before the Big Bang. They tell you, give us one free miracle and we explain the rest. So nobody out of them can actually explain how it started before the Big Bang theory. So that's as far back as they can explain it. So we have stumped them on that aspect. They'll tell you all these crazy theories, the physicists, like, oh, there was ripples, and all of a sudden out of these ripples, something came out of nothing, but they don't have anything logical.
The Big Bang theory is not about the creation. The Big Bang theory is about the formation of the universe. The creation means to be after it was not, to come into existence after it didn't. That is the meaning of creation. The Bang theory does not explain that. Nobody can explain that. As a matter of fact, most of the scientists will tell you that this is not a scientific subject. You don't go to scientists to explain whether there is a creator or there is no creator. But they will tell you, we deal with the materialistic world. We deal with nature. We deal with the particles of material and how they form and how they move from one shape to another and the laws that govern their movement and their change. That's all that they do. Okay? And in that, there is no room for discussion whether there is a creator or not, because it is by nature. Science is the study of material, not where it came from, not how it came into existence, but as it is, how it moves, what are the qualities of it, what happens if you put this substance into this new situation, which is different from its original situation, and make experiments. That is what science basically is. So Bang theory does not explain whether there is a creator or there is no creator. It simply says that the whole universe might have been an atom or a compressed, ball of or mass of material that for some reason exploded and started expanding and enlarging as it moves away from the center of the explosion. That's basically what it is. It does not explain whether there is a cause that has, but by essence it brings in the same question. That is a cause. That in itself is a cause. Is an effect. Who caused it? You go back to the same basic question. So that's not an explanation of the creation.
The theory is Big Bang being one of them, right? It's just a theory. You see? Only Allah knows that that was actually a fact.
It could be wrong.
It could be totally wrong.
That theory could be wrong.
No, some Muslim scientists tell you that is mentioned in the Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَوَلَمْ يَرَوْا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ كَانَتَا رِتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. That heavens and earth were one mass and we split them. So they say this is the Bang theory. Okay? But that is not our concern, simply because that theory, like I said, doesn't deal with creation. Doesn't have anything to do with creation. It deals with how this universe came to have the form that it has now. So it is possible, by the way. And believing in it or denying it doesn't negate or confirm your belief in Allah or in creation. It's not like the evolution theory. Evolution theory, does oppose belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or belief in Adam at least, as being the first man. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says that we created Adam from dirt, from earth. That was turned into mud when it was mixed with water, and then was left in the sun to dry and became like clay. And then Allah has created from it Adam. That is what we are told. The evolution theory doesn't say that. It says that man came into being, from a single cell that, multiplied into something similar to a fish, and then into something similar to a frog, and, and then a monkey, then, until it reached this form. It was, clearly against the teachings of Islam. Not Islam, all other religions.
Now, discovering something that you never seen before could be and effect? Because, you know, cause and effect, you see something, how it was before, and you see it different after, so you know there's a cause and effect. What about things that the first time you see it, that by itself could be, and it doesn't change, can that by itself be an effect?
There is the cause and effect applies to two things. It applies to the existence of things. The very existence of something is an effect. The very existence of something is an effect. So if somebody tells you that I have seen a mountain such and such and such, that in your mind, you know, is an effect. It has a cause that caused it.
Because if you go
Okay.
back after 100 years and the math
Yes.
is still the same.
Second, the other part of cause and effect is the actions themselves. That actions themselves, you know, are also an effect.
Yes.
So if you see something moving, or something is pushing it, or something is causing it to move in this direction or in that direction at that speed, and you know, and things like that. Now, it is true that you can, if you take the parts of the universe, you can explain it by the theory of cause and effect within the universe itself. That is true. But how about the universe as a whole?
Yes.
That is the question.
One of the scientists, when they first saw the first pictures of Mars, he said, like somebody put these layers together, like somebody, it was just there, like somebody did it.
Or something.
He just said,
That
he
is
just said
true.
that word.
Well, let me though emphasize again that when we say cause and effect, and the cause is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they usually call Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, at least the philosophers in the past, they used to call the creator the cause of causes. Okay, why? Because it is possible to explain an effect in this universe within the context of the universe itself. In other words, if somebody says, it is raining, sure, there's an effect. There is a cause for this effect. What is the cause? If you want to explain it scientifically, what is the cause? Is it Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly? No. You could explain it independent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Vapor and gravity and condensity and cold weather and, you know, and the movement of wind and aerial pressure and things like that. It causes it to condense and fall in certain areas with certain density and speed. Okay, here you are explaining because the effect, you know, through the context of the universe itself, and that's fine. That's fine. But the question that we ask is not about a particular phenomenon or the existence of a particular part of the universe. We're talking about the universe as a whole, the existence as a whole, being an effect. Where did it come from? Okay, you understand this point? So if somebody tells you, well, I can explain to you the cause and effect within the context of the universe itself, then that's fine. You know, you could do that. But how about the universe as a whole? You know, because we live in part of it and we can sense part of the universe. We do not have the ability to, you know, comprehend or sense the whole universe. But for sure there is a whole mass of universe. Okay? So this is part of it. The air, the windows, the ground, the water, this is part. The earth itself, then the whole, what do you call it, solar system, and then all of these things are part of the universe. Okay? How about all of the universe? Does it exist? Yes, because we feel parts of it. And if we can feel the part, sure, there is a whole. Okay? So that whole mass of universe, as an effect, who caused it to come into being? That is the question. Okay, and that is the first kind of cause and effect. It will become clearer if you move to the second part of the evidence, or the second kind of the evidence. You know, before that, actually B should have been, before dependency, limitation. that everything in the universe is limited. Okay? In time of size, in time of weight, in terms of age, in terms of, everything about it is limited. And what does limited mean? It means it has a beginning and it has an end. Everything, including human beings, by the way. Everything in this universe is limited. Which means everything in this universe is created. Limited equals created. Why? Because it has a beginning. That's the meaning of limited, right? And what is the meaning of a beginning? It was not, then it came into being. And this is the meaning of it. So if everything didn't exist at one point, then came into being, it means that everything is created. Let me give you an example. Were there human beings before there was oxygen?
No.
It's impossible that there were human beings, as we know them now, before there was oxygen. You might say there might be a different species. That's fine. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this human being that we see now. Was there a human being before there was oxygen? No. When did the humanity start and the human beings start to come into existence? After oxygen came into being, because oxygen is a prerequisite for human life. Which means that the human beings are created. You might say, well, that is true, but their existence depends on part of the universe itself, which is oxygen. I tell you that's fine. Let's study oxygen. Were there oxygen before there was water? I'm not a chemist, but I'm sure that the oxygen came into being as a result of the existence of another substance.
There was the hydrogen and another.
And oxygen.
This the
Like water.
beginning of the Big Bang.
Whatever it is, there was no oxygen before. Anything that you study in this universe, you will find that at one point in time it did not exist. And then it came into being. Anything. So, being limited means being created. There is nothing on this universe that is eternal. Everything in it is limited. It's not eternal. Has a beginning, which means everything is created. Again, you might say, it's true that everything is limited, but the whole universe, integrated together, is not limited. That's not true. Why? Something that part of it, a sample of it, has certain quality means the whole mass has the same quality, right? For example, if you say that zinc melts at a certain degree, and you bring 1 gram of zinc, and you burn it at a certain degree, and it melts, what does that mean? All the zinc in the world, even that is still under the ground, nobody has dug out yet, is going to melt at this degree. Because if you have a sample of something that has a certain quality, it means the rest of it has the same quality. So if part of the universe, anything of it, is limited, it means the total mass of it is going to be limited. Limited plus limited plus limited plus a billion limited equals what? Limited. Because the quality of being limited is there in part of it. You follow what I'm saying? You follow what I'm saying?
So, this also is part of that. Like what I said, they say the elements of the Big Bang theory during the formation of the universe some 14 billion years ago. In the so-called Big Bang, only the lightest elements were formed: hydrogen and helium, along with trace amounts of lithium. There were only 3 elements.
Okay, and before that?
Maybe they were even less. There was nothing.
Huh? If you go back to there was nothing, you prove the creation theory that there is a creator.
How did you know there was
But,
nothing?
Ridwan, the point I was making is that all of these things, what they put out and write in big books, they're only guesses. They haven't proven a thing.
No, besides that point, we understand that these are not facts yet. They're not even scientific facts. Scientific facts are relative facts, you know that. They're not absolute facts. All right? Why? Because scientific means using the theory of relativity to describe a certain element. You're not scientific if you say this man is tall. When you're scientific, when you say he is 6.7 feet, then your talk is scientific. Here, you are relative. You are comparing him to the height of 30 centimeters or a foot. Okay? So in order to be scientific, you have to be relative to other parts of usually, certain weights and density, and they have, their description to use it. So scientific facts are not absolute facts. They are descriptive facts, and they are relative facts, relative to science itself and scientific measurements itself. But let's say that it is an absolute fact. That's fine. Okay? What does it prove?
Yes, creator.
It proves that nothing existed except these four elements. Okay? And where did these four elements came from? You're back to the same, the same question.
Abu Ali, you may say maybe they always were there. They always were there. These four elements.
That defies the nature of things and the human thing. There is no such a thing that they were always there. Since they were there, that is a cause. It means somebody put them there.
Yeah, they were there for a reason.
You cannot say that they were there, by themselves. And unless you are saying that they are the cause and they are the effect at the same time. And in order to be that, you have to be out of your mind to believe that the cause is the effect and the effect is the cause. And if that is the case, then apply it to everything else. Apply it to the court system, and apply it to classrooms and apply it to real life. And life will not have a meaning if you start believing that the cause is the effect and the effect is the cause. Yes?
What does the Quran say? They say everything is mentioned in the Quran. Because you are almost learned person, maybe you can,
But if we go to the Quran, brother, somebody who's an atheist will tell me that there's a book, you believe in it, you abide by it. I don't abide by it because I don't believe in it. We are trying to avoid using the Quran or the Hadith in order to provide that because we did not prove that the Quran is the word of Allah yet. We're starting from scratch. That's what I promised you that we will do. And the scratch says, you say that you believe that there is a founder, an establisher, a creator, a sustainer of this universe. How do you prove that? You cannot tell him because Allah says in the Quran. But if you tell him that Allah says in the Quran, he tells you, I don't believe in Allah, and I don't believe in the Quran. So why are you using the Quran, to prove to me something? Yes.
There is this famous physicist, you might know it, Stephen Hawking.
Yes.
He's a handicapped guy.
Yeah.
He's the smartest person on earth. They compared it to Einstein. He did a documentary about a year ago, 2 hours, to prove that God doesn't exist. And I wanted to see the logic, his logic. It's unbelievable. He went to the smallest elements inside the atom, and he kept going inside and inside until he said that there is a state when there is nothing. And no, hold on a second. And he said,
He's wrong.
no, hold on a second. This is what let me finish what he said. He said that in that state, look how crazy it is. Just to think of like he did. He said, I'm so pleased now, I'm so happy, because I came to this conclusion. He said, in that state...
But that conclusion is wrong, it's not scientific.
He said, when there is nothing, he said, that state of there is nothing creates something automatically. When there is nothing, something has to happen. Look how stupid that is. He thinks that he's so smart.
I don't know what booze he drank before he said that. Because all the scientists agree that material does not vanish. It turns into energy, it turns into particles, but it doesn't vanish.
He said that, no, he's talking about the
No matter how you keep
The
splitting
origin.
the atom,
he's talking
now
about
how
the
you
origin.
keep splitting it, there is going to be something. Finally, you might end up with energy. You know, not maybe an electric current,
Well, he went very far.
but that's not nothing. That is something.
Yeah.
That in itself is something. You know, if they can vanish, material reach a point where they can vanish, but this whole universe will come to an end. If such a thing is possible. It is not. No matter what they do, two things they can never do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenged them. The first, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ تَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ لَن يَخْلُقُوا ذُبَابًا. They will never be able to create even a fly. وَلَوْ اجْتَمَعُوا لَهُ. Okay? They will never be able to do that. The second is to cause part of this universe, or the universe itself, or the atom itself, to disappear completely. It's impossible. You cannot do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone is the one who can do that. You know, there is no way. So this guy, I don't know how he is saying that if you keep splitting the atom, you will reach nothingness. You will reach a very negligible part maybe of material. That is true. Or you reach a point where you cannot sense it with your senses, or with the toughest, most meticulous and strong telescope. Yes, that is true. But can you reach a point where there is nothing at all? I haven't never heard of any scientist who say that's possible.
At the end, the smallest part they reached so far, they call a quark. See? And a quark is proving something. Now, Einstein theory of relativity equal to mc squared. It kind of limits everything. You see, it puts a limitation because it is saying that the speed of light is the fastest that anything in this universe can travel. And right now in Connecticut, right, they have a big accelerometer, they call it, where they're splitting atoms to the point of getting them to the point where they're very fast, and they call them quarks. But it is still something that exists, you see. But I remember a hadith, I don't know if it's a hadith or a story, but I read it the other day. There was a traveler going somewhere in the time of Rasulullah sallam, and bandits came to him, one bandit, and he had his sword and everything, and he robbed him. He said, I'm going to rob you of everything. So he took everything he had, the brother gave it to him. And then he says, well, now that you gave me everything, I'm going to kill you. You see? And he says, he looked at him, he says, okay, if you're going to kill me, let me read 2 rakah first. So he said, okay, I'm going to give you time to read 2 rakah. And in the second rakah, when he was in sujood, he started pleading to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. And all of a sudden, he raised the sword, you see? And before the sword could come down, a man on a horse came galloping. And he was galloping so fast, and he knocked his head off. So the brother was saved. So when he asked him, the person turned to him and apologized. He said, I was in the 4th heaven, and I heard when you call on Allah. And this was the fastest I could reach. You see? And this was an angel. Now, from the 4th heaven, with the vastness of the universe, he had to have been traveling faster than the speed of light. Way, 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 way faster. So the whole, which brings me to the point of the whole Albert Einstein is a fraud. And if you ask me that sentence, I'll tell you why. And the whole relativity theory, right? It really is not factual. It's just a theory. Because with the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there are things in this universe that can move so fast. That's beyond imagination.
That's fine what you're saying, brother, but this is what you're saying is part of light. And up to now, we're just still dealing with the universe itself scientifically to prove. If you look at the Quran always turns our attention in proving the existence of God, or proving the day of judgment, or proving the wisdom of Allah. It turns our attention to what? To the universe itself. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ كَيْفَ خُلِقَتْ. Don't they look at the camels and how they were created? وَإِلَى الْجِبَالِ and to the mountains, how they were erected, and to the skies, how they were held up, and to the earth, how it was flattened. So Allah always